exception that might make sense. If I was encasing my NXT in wood in order to avoid static electricity, you might make an argument that it's okay. I probably wouldn't risk it if I were you. Okay. The inspector, if you brought the form printout, if you said this specific part and you got an answer from the from the game design committee that says it's legal, and you bring that part number and say that it's there, then you can politely override the inspector. But in general, if you don't got that or there's some difference, the inspector wins. Always the inspector wins. Okay, now, here's my little jar. I have a jar of screws and nuts and bolts. Okay, I don't see where it is, but basically, I'll pull out my VEX kit. Okay, I have a bunch of VEX parts. These nuts from VEX, are they legal? All right, star nuts from VEX, legal. Bolts from VEX, legal. Standoffs. It's a standoff, it's legal. These funny shaped parts, not legal. However, let's suppose this particular part you really, really liked, and you thought it was perfect to use for your robot. Do you know how you can get a legal version of this? McMaster doesn't, even if McMaster offers it, it would not be legal. However,
what is the criteria that makes it illegal, please?
The criteria is a manufactured part. If it's a raw material and you manufacture it into it and you do the work to get it manufactured, it's legal. Okay. But if it's
so
that's,
if you pay for it or do it yourself to get it manufactured.
Correct. Now you get the next thing. If you design in Creo this part with 3D and you ship it off to Shapeways or one of about a dozen other companies that will, for very cheap, or print it on a 3D printer, or you go to the tech shop and print on a 3D printer, this exact same part, it's legal. 3D printing is legal this year. That's what they've said. It's not been, there's been some debate, but I actually confirmed with Michael Coleman, on the game design committee, and it will be confirmed on the forums that 3D printing is legal. Yes, you better show them the 3D model. Did you hear that question?
No.
How do the judges know that this part is a legal version versus a non-legal version?
Documentation.
Documentation. Show them the 3D model that you built of it. Show them the bill from Shapeways where you got it printed out.
I assume machining is as good as printing out.
Machining is just as good as printing out. I mean, we have a machine shop in our, we have a milling machine in our garage, and people, people have scheduled time on to use it. So that's the real key. Manufactured parts. If you do the manufacturing to turn it into the useful shape, it's legal. But if you buy it pre-manufactured in that shape, it's not. So here's a great example of one. Okay, this is a nice, you use this for roofing, piece of aluminum, or actually it's galvanized steel, I think. It's really nice because it's an exact, 90-degree angle. Not legal. However, this is really trivial to cut a piece of metal, drill those 4 holes, and bend it and make the exact same thing, would be legal. So this is a good definition of the difference between a manufactured part. If somebody else has manufactured it, it comes that way, you can't use it. But if you build it, you can. Yes, ma'am? It's going to be in your notebook. Trust me, they can tell the difference between one you. I mean, anybody can tell the difference between one you manufactured and one you're going to buy from them. Yes, you're going to have documentation. And this is why. Remember, I said some things are obviously legal, some things are obviously illegal. This is where you get into the gray areas. He was first.
So the kit of complex VEX parts, that most people have some of, are they automatically grandfathered in, or
no,
are they?
They're not.
No, okay. So
okay.
Some of them are.
Perfect example. Not legal. Okay. However, FRC teams. Anybody? I know there's a few FRC teams. You know what the T-channel stuff is? The extruded aluminum. Legal. Why? Extruded aluminum is legal, and T-channel is one that they've said specifically. Now, if you go to McMaster, in the same place where you buy the T-channel, there's something that's very similar to this. They're not sure whether it's legal. They think it might be. So that somebody's going to ask the question.
John,
So,
I'm looking at the robot behind you.
yes.
Most of that stuff's illegal?
No, this is all legal. This one here, the Supercell, everything, those are all Tetrix parts.
Okay, because they're Tetrix. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
that's what I was
Tetrix
saying.
is legal. Yeah,
Tetrix
Tetrix is
anything
legal.
from Tetrix is
Right,
legal.
Tetrix is legal, Vex is not.
Got it.
That's why I was assuming holding
Yeah.
Vex parts. Tetrix is 100% legal. I'm sorry, I
So
apologize.
if I get a gear or a channel, my team finds a gear or a channel and it's Tetrix, they're good.
You got it. If you can go websites, if you go to Lego Education, with the exception of about 9 parts, they're listed specifically in the manual. Legal, absolutely legal. Yeah. So the one mistake that you shouldn't make. They talk about raw materials and say you can go to McMaster. And if you go to McMaster and go to the raw materials section, not everything in the raw materials section is legal. I just thought that was hilarious. You just got to think about manufactured or not.
Are there limits to the quantity of
No.
raw materials?
None. No limits to quantities, no limits to cost, no limits to weight, none of that.
Good.
All legal. Motors, you're limited, good question. Motors, you are limited to the DC motors and the motor controllers from High Technic. We'll get to servos in a second. Just hold on to servos. But motors, you have to use the same DC motors, which we've all learned to love and hate, which any team worth their salt, if you're going to need 2 DC motors, you get how many? 4, and you test them to figure out which 2 are the best ones to meet your, yes, sir.
In previous years, raw materials have had a width restraint.
No restraints, no limitations whatsoever. They pretty much, I mean, the rules have gotten dead simple. If it's a raw material and you manufacture it, so that's why I want to show you an example. Here's an angle iron, comes pre-manufactured with the holes in it that are useful, not legal. Here's one that, actually, Timmy, I think you cut this. Standard angle iron, you go to McMaster, you buy it for $2 for a big long piece, and you cut your holes in it, legal. Yes, sir.
So the angles are considered raw material.
Angle iron is extruded aluminum. Excuse me, come in here. Good question. Angle iron. This is from McMaster. This is 2-inch. This is 1.5-inch angle iron. Extruded. That's the real key. Does everybody understand what I mean by extruded? Okay. Did anybody ever play with Play-Doh and you had that thing that you pushed out and then it comes out? That's called extruding. So basically, if you take the metal, the way this is made is they literally have a shape, just like that L, and they squeeze the